Sheldon head football coach Lane Johnson. Coach Johnson, thank you very much for joining us. One question before we talk about this year. Last year, 9-3, three really tough losses to great teams: Central Catholic, North Medford, the long touchdown pass with not much time, and then Canby, who rushed for 400 yards. Of those three difficult losses, which one stings the most, and what do you think this year's Irish team has learned from those three close losses last year?
I would say if you asked our players which one stung the most at the time, it was North Medford because we played very, very poorly. We played like we were an unprepared team. Just didn't go about our business the way that we usually do, and it came back to bite us in the rear end. And that one, we haven't had very many games where we've just come out flat and played poorly. And I tip my cap to North Medford. They took advantage of our flatness, and it wasn't like they were a terrible team by any means. I mean, they were a playoff team that made it as far as we did in the playoffs. But that was a tough one. Central Catholic was better than us. They had better players, in my opinion, and I thought we did a good job of keeping it close. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing to say that you give up 59 points, but they ran us over. They were outstanding last year. I'm going to assume they're probably going to be very similar this year. Canby was a really tough matchup for us because they were really big and aggressive up front, and we didn't handle that very well. Didn't play particularly well on offense until the end of the game, and that one for me stings the most right now because it's the most recent. And I think we have a lot of kids that played in that Canby game last year, and I would say it has lit their fire a little bit. But this year's a new year, and it's a new group of kids, and we're fired up and ready.
Very good. So let's talk a little bit about how the summer workouts have gone and the 2014 Sheldon Irish. How are things looking so far, early in the year?
A little inconsistent. We practice great at times and been a little shaky at times, but that's understandable when you don't have a ton of varsity starters coming back. Our off-season stuff was great. A great commitment from our kids. Practice-wise, like I said, I've talked to our team numerous times about good teams don't have the big ups and big downs in practice. They're just kind of steady, and we've had too many downs. We've had some really good ups, but we're trying to just steady things out.
Let's talk a little bit about practice. I've come watch you practice a few times, and as a fan, I have to tell you, I don't mean to offend you, but your practices are kind of boring. You don't scrimmage a lot. Tell us a little bit about how Sheldon practices.
We would like to think efficiently. I would say to a spectator that would come to be entertained, it probably would be a little boring. It's very routine. We do the same things every day, and we don't do very many things. And so I could easily see how somebody that came and didn't really know the inner workings of how we do things could think that it was could think that it would be boring. We don't scrimmage very much. When we're on defense, we usually have between 10 and 15 live plays per practice on a normal Wednesday or Thursday. We never go live on offense. We go full speed, but our offensive guys never get tackled to the ground until a Friday night, which I'm sure there's arguments for that, arguments against it, but we don't practice for very long. We have a set schedule, and we stay to the schedule, and we just tell our kids if you screw up a play, it's second down, and we like to stay away from, like everybody, stay away from turnovers in practice and stuff like that. But we can overcome an incompletion. It's really tough to overcome interceptions. We try not to turn the ball over even in practice.
A little bit more about practice. The OSAA has had some rule changes about amount of contact and the amount of time you can practice and rules with targeting. Has any of that affected the way you guys practice this season?
It didn't change the way that we practice, but you couldn't have consecutive days of doubles. So that was a not a huge change because nobody's playing this Friday. Everybody's playing in a jamboree. So in years past, we would have two practices the first week, and then it was game week for us. And it's been kind of nice this week, since we're just playing in a jamboree, that it hasn't been game week for us. We've been able to practice a couple times on Monday, and we've scaled it back to one. So it hasn't been a huge change for us.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the schedule this year. As usual, a very difficult schedule, the kind of the Sheldon tradition there. You open at home against Lake Ridge, travel to Jesuit, South Medford, North Medford, on the road. That's kind of a typical thing for Sheldon, scheduling tough competition.
Our kids like playing against the best teams, and we have some outstanding teams in our league, and we do every year. We tried to not schedule teams that we thought it would be a lopsided game one way or the other, and it could be lopsided this year against us in those first two games. I'm hoping that it's not, but Lake Ridge has outstanding kids. I know they have a new coach, and they had some issues last year, and my hunch is they've got the issues cleaned up. And Jesuit is Jesuit, and our kids love playing teams like Jesuit, but I just want to come out of that thing healthy and get on to our first league game against Grants Pass.
One more question here before we let you go. Finish this sentence, if you could, for me. The Sheldon Irish will have a successful 2014 season if
our kids are coachable. And I don't mean that like our coaches win games, because we don't. But our kids, when our kids buy into what we're doing, and we have good kids, and we don't have great kids every year, but when our kids are coachable and they listen to direction, and our coaches do, in my opinion, a really good job of getting our best players in space, and then it's up to them to make plays. But coachability is a huge thing around here, and this group so far has been coachable.
Excellent. Thank you, Coach Lane Johnson. Sheldon Irish, good luck this season.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.